Okay, Lou, I'm excited to see this carbon dioxide experiment.
Yes. And again, very briefly, when you exhaled and blew bubbles into the bromthymol blue yesterday, it turned slightly yellow.
Right.
But we have to realize that when we inhale the air that we breathe, about 3/4 of that, approximately, is nitrogen.
Mm-hmm.
And only about 1/4 of that, a little less than that, is oxygen. So when we take that oxygen, which is the part of the air that our body uses, into our lungs and gets into our bloodstream, and when we exhale, a chemical reaction takes place in our cells so that we exhale carbon dioxide, but a lot of that nitrogen comes out too that we didn't use, and we didn't use all of the oxygen, so we're giving off just some carbon dioxide.
Okay.
But what I want to attempt to do, and I say attempt, and this is what makes life EV exciting, because you never know how things are going to turn out, but I'm going to attempt to build a test tube of pure carbon dioxide.
Oh, wow.
Now, to do that, I'd like you to notice that I've got a large container of water here, and I just know the crew here at KDSC, who knows me pretty well right now, is just waiting to see what kind of mess I'm going to make. And my wife already knows. But I'm going to try and collect this carbon dioxide underwater.
All right.
Because if I fill this test tube completely up with water, and if you've ever done dishes, and when your mom's not looking, you start playing around a little bit, I'm going to turn this over, pull the rubber stopper out, and you'll notice that the test tube is still full of water.
Right.
And I wonder if I could get you to hold that there so that our viewers can kind of see what's going on.
Okay.
And I've got some baking soda, just ordinary baking soda, and some ordinary white distilled vinegar, which in middle school science is just kind of a fancy way of saying, here I have a weak acid, and here I have a weak base, or a weak alkaline. And if you've ever had heartburn before, you know that you can take a Tums and it'll get rid of that. Of course, teachers never get heartburn, And I tell my middle school students that when acids come into contact with bases, they sort of have a little battle in an attempt to neutralize each other. And it sounds like one of those political correct words that we use in our warfare today.
Mm-hmm.
But so in the process of neutralizing each other, a chemical reaction takes place, and they say carbon dioxide is a byproduct, or one of the gases that's given off, and so that's what we're going to try to collect in this tube. So what I've prepared ahead of time here, I took some of the baking soda and wrapped it up in a paper towel so that the reaction wouldn't take place too fast. Then I got some water. I'm going to put that in there. Hope it'll react. And then I've got some vinegar here. And
it's starting to bubble.
Immediately you can begin to see the bubbles start to form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this rubber stopper that has a hole and a tube in it, and I'm going to stick it in here, and I'm not going to be in a big hurry because I want to give it 10, 15 seconds for this gas, which we hope is carbon dioxide, to push the air that was at the top of this test tube and out of the tube itself.
Okay.
Because we want, as I said before, we want to collect pure carbon dioxide. Now, if I can get you to hold this with your other hand,
okay,
and I'm going to give it just one more second here, and you can see the battle going on in this test tube.
Right.
That's sort of an elementary way of describing it, but it's sort of what seems to be happening. Now what I'm going to do is, without taking this out of the water, I'm going to attempt to put this tube up in the test tube. And if you'll gently shake that to kind of speed things up just a little bit, you should notice that the water is beginning to be forced out of the test tube.
So you're building up pressure there in the top of that
Yes,
tube.
and so the water is being pushed out, being replaced by carbon dioxide, and because we're doing this whole process underwater, this prevents any air from getting in it so that it'll be pure carbon dioxide. And if we can get this going, I want to cause an explosion here. There will be sort of a blurb that'll come out the bottom, a big bubble. You want to hold that tube up in there, or shake that and I'll hold the tube. everything above the water that's in this test tube should be carbon dioxide. So we're getting closer. Now we don't want to get any vinegar up in there, so we don't want to shake it too hard. Okay, now, due to time constraints here, I'm going to settle for a little bit less than a full container of carbon dioxide. So we're getting pretty close. Okay, you want to hold this, Pat? So while it's still underwater, I'm going to pull the tube out, and I'm going to take another rubber stopper that doesn't have a hole, and I'm going to stick in the bottom here. And you can see that, again, we didn't get all the water out, but everything above this water should be pure carbon dioxide. Mm-hmm. Now I'm going to turn it over, and we don't seem to be having too many breezes in here right now. So when I pull this stopper off, I'm going to ask you to take some bromthymol blue, which I have in this test tube, and pour just a little bit of that in here. I'll put the lid back on, and when we shake it up, if the bromthymol blue indicator solution turns yellow, then that indicates that yes, in fact, we did collect pure carbon dioxide. Okay. Now sometimes the kids get in a big hurry here and they'll pull this top off and they want to pour this in super fast, but let's keep in mind that carbon dioxide is heavier than air. Oh. Okay. So unless there's some breezes here, it's going to just sort of stay in there. Okay. Wow, right away. Now I'll shake it up a little bit to get it even more involved with the carbon dioxide we had in here. So definitely we collected carbon dioxide. Look at the difference in color there. Okay. And the big point here, I think, is that by doing it underwater, we were able to eliminate any air from getting in. Okay. Now that makes me think about carbonated water. Carbonated water must be water that has carbon dioxide in it. Absolutely. And when you open a pop, and instantly, especially a light-colored pop, you see these bubbles coming up. That's just the carbon dioxide that's attempting to escape. All right. Well, neat. Now, where could a person buy this indicator that you were talking about? You may be able to buy this in a pet store because they sometimes use this to test the acidity, I believe, in fish aquariums. Okay. And you can get these other things at a grocery store. Well, I think it's time for us to reveal our secret word. We knew